thanks so much for taking the time tonight. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are at the moment with everything you got going on.
It's a little bit going on at the moment, yeah. Unusually more than usual, yeah.
So what I wanted to do tonight, just for a lot of the people in the page, is just really talk about some of the fundamentals that's required to building a physique. Now, within the fitness industry, as we know, it's always about 5+ days training, lots of cardio, restricted calories, all of this sort of stuff.
Which industry do you say that was?
Fitness. Okay.
Oh, the fitness industry. Oh,
fitness industry. Yes.
I'm not too much of an expert on that industry. That's something very different from my field.
It sure is. And we'll talk about why that is actually different. But one of the questions we've been getting asked a lot is, because we really preach about full body training, specifically 3 days a week, and why it's so effective. And I know, obviously, talking with you, you've always maintained that you've made a lot of your best progress training, 3 days a week, even 2 days a week, I think now.
Yeah, 2 days a week, yeah.
Yeah. So, and people just go, you can't do that. That's not enough output. It's not enough this. It's not enough that. What's the difference? Where are people not understanding the link in the chain that's the deciding factor in them making progress or not?
Well, it actually comes back to this whole fitness issue versus training issue, basically, which is fitness is a remedy to being sedentary and overweight. It's not about athlete development. It's about the masses of the population who just don't do anything, and they are clinically diseased because they don't do anything. The remedy to a person not doing anything is to do something. And the more something that they do, the more of a remedy that it is. There's no qualitative requirement to what it is that they do. It's just get off your bum. That's all that it has to be. And more is better. The other focal point is on the nutrition side of things, where they're trying to fix the fact that sedentary people are sitting on the sofa just stuffing their face all day with epic amounts of crap. So the solution to that is stop it. Eat less. And it's perfectly valid and viable.
Yes.
But the objective, and this is not an opinion, this is a stated, documented objective of the health department and fitness organizations, et cetera, is to get overweight, sedentary people back to normalcy, not to become athletes. They want to get them back to the base level of zero, absolute mediocrity that is a BMI under 25, which means a 175 centimeter person being less than 70 kilos, and a body fat for men of between 14 and 24%, and for women between 21 and 32%. This is what is documented. So when you want to achieve as a male, 175 centimeter male, 65 kilos at 15% body fat, when that is your objective, sure, knock yourself out doing less food and more stuff. But when you want to get better than that, when you want to have more muscle than that, lower body fat, you want to have ripped abdominals and all the rest of it, that's when you need to dispense with all of that mediocrity training, because it is, all of the fitness training is literally training to achieve mediocrity. That is the stated objective of it. When you want to become an athlete, your training needs to become specific. And when your training is specific to body composition, it means your strength training. And when it's strength training you're talking about the highest intensity activity that you can do, putting the greatest loads on your body that it can sustain, lifting them to the limit of your ability. Now, if you're going to do that, you cannot do it 5 days per week. You will literally break and fall to pieces. The only way you can do it 5 days per week, and you can use the fitness paradigm, is if the quality of work that you do is absolute garbage. And doing lots of garbage isn't a better way of achieving the outcome than doing a little bit of absolute superlative excellence. Yeah. So that's really all it comes down to, is that you've got to dispense with all of those beliefs that you've got that are good for fitness when you're saying, I want to look better than fitness, when you're saying, I want ripped abs, big muscles, and all the rest of it. In order to train lots of days per week, you must lower the quality. Lots of low-quality work isn't better than a little bit of high-quality work. Simple as that.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, people argue, like, there's lots of people out there who train 5 days a week and there's 6 days a week and that sort of thing. And it's just like, well, what are they doing differently? Like, why is it that they're doing that and you're going, well, I believe those people need to do that. That's also my argument as well.
Yeah, well, there's I've always made the joke that there are guys on building sites who eat meat pies and drink beer all day and have better physiques than I will ever develop in my life with all the training, drugs, nutrition, everything I could possibly do. And these guys just look freaking better than that because they came out of the womb looking good. They're just, what's his name? Brad Pitt. It's like, Brad Pitt apparently likes to smoke marijuana. I don't think he's as good looking as he is because he smokes marijuana. Yeah. You don't go to Brad. I don't go to Shaquille O'Neal and go, hey, Shaq, what did you do to get so tall? Because I'll copy you and I'll become as tall as you.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at these genetically gifted people who look absolutely fabulous and just going, well, what did they do to get like that? And you go, you're ignoring the fact that they looked halfway there before they even started. And they went to the gym and they ate some food and they just made extraordinary gains. What you really need to look at is what is happening to everybody else doing this. And for some strange reason, for every one person who looks absolutely fabulous doing all of this low volume, lightweight, starvation, blah, 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 there's literally thousands of people looking absolutely freaking terrible. And no one looks at them and goes, this isn't working. They look at the one good-looking person and go, see, it works. You go, no. I'm sure there are people in trailer parks who won the lotto and they got really, really rich. That doesn't mean living in a trailer park is the best way to get very, very rich.
Yeah.
You've got to look at what's really happening out there. And we've spoken about this, and we won't get into it, but the gist of it is that it's not working. It is failing the vast majority of people out there. Curtin University did a study a number of years ago to look at it, and they priced, it would have been 5+ years ago, they priced it then that the global spend on weight loss and fitness products was $500 billion per year, of which 95% was wasted on ineffective solutions. 95%.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of waste and a lot of effort. And you go, everybody's coming to us asking these questions for the same reason, because it doesn't work. And you go, how long do you need to keep on beating yourself up with a stupid program that isn't working and all of your friends are the same before you go, maybe it's just not very good? So that's how I would answer the question. Why do all of these people do it? They all do it because everyone does it. And it's that case of the reason that any given bodybuilder trains like they do is because the bodybuilder who told them what to do did that. And the bodybuilder before that told him what to do. And no one's willing to go against the person who told them what to do. So what I did was looked at, well, who started this? Where did it all come from? Because it's a funny and interesting story. It comes from the lifestyle of circus gypsies and the best way to become good at juggling. And you go, how did bodybuilding come from juggling? It came from juggling because Eugene Sandow was the first, who's the guy on the Mr. Olympia trophy. He was a circus strongman. He was a gypsy. And the circus gypsies had a very, they had a cultural, societal value that said you must practice your craft 6 days a week, 8 hours per day. And so the first people went to they went to the circus and they asked Eugene, how did you get so muscular? Which is like me asking Shaq how he got so tall. It's utterly irrelevant. It's just he was that guy. And he said, well, I train for 8 hours a day, 6 days per week, because that's how we get good at walking high wire and juggling. And so they went away and they tried that, and then they told the next people, well, in order to get muscles, you need to train 8 hours per day, 6 days per week. And that then flowed on and flowed on and flowed on. And then you get the scientists come and they go, all of these people are involved in this interesting activity. What are they doing? Well, they train many hours per day for this many days per week. Oh, that's interesting, and it seems to cause a result. And then you fast forward to 2017. Oh, we just did a meta-analysis and we found that most studies show that training lots of days per week for many hours is the best way to train. But that's all you freaking looked at.
Yeah.
You're a bunch of academics. You don't know how to actually do a study on the most effective way to train. You can't measure strength performance accurately, because the way academics measure strength performance is by doing one arm and one leg extensions on Kaiser machines and asking people on an interview whether it was their maximum. It's ridiculous. So... Yeah. Where did these ideas come from? They came from utter irrelevant stupidity, and they've been passed down from generation to generation until we get to today.
Yeah. Okay. So all really good points. I guess, obviously the main thing is obviously to ask more questions. It's I have conversations around the whole green veggie thing, which I often get shot down for. But people say, it's like, you need to eat veggies, and I say, why? And they say they're healthy, and I'm like, well, that's not an answer. Give me a specific, like, why is it? And they're like, oh, well, they've got all these nutrients. And I'm like, well, they really don't. Like, look at a nutritional panel, Google it. There's bugger all in it. Yep. And they're like, what would you eat in sand? I'm like, eat an egg. Yep. Eat something that's got more ginger. Like, tell me why you need veggies.
Do you remember I wrote a blog all those years ago, and because I was sick of it. And I got the nutritional almanac out, and I went, well, let's just go, because it's easy. I'll go 1 kilo per day, 1/4 of a kilo of broccoli, onions, carrots, and cauliflower. I just picked 4 popular vegetables in Australia, and I go, what do we get out of this? The recommended daily allowance of 4 vitamins. 1 kilo per day of the most popular vegetables, and you get 4 vitamins. Yeah. And you have 4 eggs a day and you get like 100% of the RDA of like 20 vitamins and minerals. It's just all there. I had an argument with a guy who said broccoli is a really good source of calcium. It's much better than milk. And I go, you realize you need to eat 2.2 kilos of broccoli a day just for the RDA of calcium. You get the same out of 2 serves of protein powder. Why the hell would I eat 2.2 kilos of broccoli? Yeah.
Never mind about the bloating and all the other stuff.
I can't eat 200 grams of broccoli without getting bloated. It doesn't agree with me.
But that's the thing. Like, people will accept that. They go, oh, okay, I'm eating this stuff. I know it's healthy. And look, it's purely an uneducation thing, because I was there at one stage myself. It's just like, I fucking hate eating this stuff. It doesn't serve me. I get awful effects from it.
Yeah,
I can't actually guarantee what it's actually doing to me anyway.
Except I measurably perform and look and have a worse body composition than I did before I was eating it.
Yeah. But hey, like, all of the scientists or the health, dietitians and all this sort of stuff are saying, you must eat veggies. You have to eat more of these.
Yeah, but this is where it's, and I don't know how I can articulate the importance of this. The problem is the presumption that health, particularly by the standards set by the health department and all the rest of it, is a desirable quality that parallels having a lean muscular physique. And people don't seem to understand the gravity of this. Health is defined as the absence of illness and injury. That is it. It's not the presence of anything superlative or excellent or anything else. It's just don't be sick or injured. The health department, the way that we measure illness, disease, is do you measure outside of the clinical range? Yeah. Cool. The clinical range is simply what 95% of the people that they've measured happen to be. It's not some scientifically devised range of values for the best human beings on earth based on those with the lowest body fat levels and the highest muscle mass. It's what do most of the people who we happen to have measured happen to measure. As long as you measure the same as most people, you are considered healthy. Now, there's 2 problems with this in the actual application. One is that most of the people that they test are sick. That's why they're going to the doctor to find out what's wrong with them. And the majority of Australians are going to die, and Americans as well, are going to die of heart disease or cancer. So when you really pare it back, you go, health is measuring the same as people who are probably going to die of heart disease and cancer, which is absolutely ridiculous. All of the recommendations are based on measuring the same as the average person. And you've got to look around and go, do I want to measure the same as the average person? The average person is fat, athletically hopeless, sedentary, and going to die of heart disease and cancer, and they form the basis of what health is measured as. So why do you need to eat broccoli? Because most people eat vegetables. It's good for your health, meaning it's good for you to measure and look and perform and be the same as the average person. Why should you go walking? It's good for your health, meaning it's good to look and measure and be the same as the average fat, sedentary person about to die of heart disease. Why should you not lift heavy weights, not eat lots of meat, not eat high-protein diets, not do all of these things that build lean, muscular, athletic physiques? Because the average person doesn't do it, therefore it's not good for health.
Yeah. And
it sounds like semantics, but it actually isn't. And I've got a BMI of 31 or so, which makes me clinically obese, like most bodybuilders are. If I go to the doctor and he said, what do I need to be healthy? It actually, according to the clinical standards in Australia, I need to lose 25 kilos of muscle and put back on 6 kilos of fat, and then I will be clinically healthy.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, what they'll say is they'll go, oh, Damon, your urea level is higher than the average person. That's because you eat too much protein. If you stop eating so much protein, you will be healthier. I.e., you can lose that 25 kilos of muscle and regain that 6 kilos of fat. It's like people really need to understand exactly what is meant by these words, because it's not the same as what they think. Growing muscle and losing fat beyond the BMI of 25 and a low body fat of 14% for males, you're getting unhealthy by clinical standards.
Yeah.
And you've got to ask whether or not you want their health, if it means looking like a soft, mediocre person or not. If you do, well, go walking, don't lift heavy weights, eat your veggies, don't eat your eggs. Easy.
Yeah.
You will be as mediocre as everybody else.
Yeah.
And train 5 days per week.
Yeah. and I think also with a lot of people, who potentially be watching this, who would go, well, I don't class myself as a wanting to be a superior athlete. I don't want to be all this and that and whatever. And I try and tell people, I'm like, look, it's relative to the individual. While somebody else might be capable of lifting, decent weights and being able to do all this sort of stuff, if you're only capable of this, that's totally fine, because that's relative to you and your maximum level of effort at this point in time.
That's right.
The goal, however,
the goal is to make progress from wherever you are to wherever you want to get.
Yeah, exactly. So then coming across and just going, well, if you're doing that, regardless if you can only, squat a barbell, right, and you can only lift really, really light weights, everyone's got to start somewhere. There was a time where I could only squat a barbell as well. I think it was probably you could only bench a barbell at some point as well.
25 for 9. That was what I got the first time I benched. The bar with a 2.5, and he had to pull the 10th rep off me. Serious, true story.
And so what do you bench now? What's your best, say, gym lift in bench?
Best gym lift, 190 for a double for 2 reps, 190 kilos.
So you had 25 kilos for 9 and you've gone 190 for a double.
Yes.
Right. So that's a significant.
It's a bit of improvement.
Right. So regardless, there was a time where everyone needs to start. So I think actually having that mindset of going, I don't want to be mediocre and be by the standards of, clinical range and all this stuff, and just go, well, this is all I'm capable on. I want to get to here, and I've got to be prepared to go through that journey for it. But regardless, if you're engaging in this, you would have to consider yourself being a superior athlete.
It's athlete development. No matter whether you plan to use it that way or not, you are making yourself, and you're exactly the same at NuStrength. It's, every single day of the week, there are people doing Australian record or national record lifts as a normal day in the gym training. They may never step foot on a platform,
No.
But who cares?
Yeah.
Are they less of an athlete than the competitive people who they could beat in the same weight category?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think on that, like, people go, oh, you guys do, you know, powerlifting specific. And I'm like, no. It's just strength training. It's progress. Like, yes, obviously we use the powerlifting moves because they're bang for your buck and they're excellent. But regardless, like, people come in and if they can't do that right now, we're going to put them through a system that allows them to get to that, so they're performing it correctly. And then they actually understand the intensity of effort that's then required for them to actually make genuine progress.
But this is the thing, you know, this is how it came for me, is that I was painfully thin. I was actually very healthy. In fact, my body fat was a little bit lower than healthy. So I should still be 56 kilos like when I started, because that actually is absolute picture perfect health. And I never should have gained a gram of muscle. I got unhealthy by doing so.
Massively unhealthy for how
Massively unhealthy. I'm now obese. It shows the absolute failure of all of my methodology. So if you want health, don't listen to Craig and I. But the thing was, because I was so thin and I was so pathetically weak, you know, I looked around, and at the time, back, you know, 25 years ago, it's quite amazing. People went to the gym and actually lifted weights. It's nothing like today, but there were actually people putting weight on the bars and lifting it up and down and, like, putting effort in, not, you know, pretending to put effort in and squeezing their face and making it up, but actually doing it. And it was very obvious that the very, very large people lifted much larger weights than the small people like myself. And a 5-year-old kid can figure out, when they see a large muscular person like, you know, The Rock or something, gee, mummy, there's a really strong man. Or woman, if they see a woman who looks like a bodybuilder or something like that. It's just like, yeah, that's what they are. If you want that body that's dramatically better than what you've got to be aware of the fact that it can do stuff you can't do. And not just a little bit better than what you can do, extraordinarily, massively more than you can currently do. So that's what you train to do. And you can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, a lean, muscular, toned, tight, good physique and all the rest of it has a dramatically better power to weight ratio than you currently have. Period, paragraph. You need to get stronger for your weight. That's what you're training for. If you're trying to get stronger for your weight, why would you go to the gym and kind of lift something comfortable for 3 sets of 10 and put it down? It's like, the person I want to be can lift 100 kilos more than me on their bench squat and deadlift. So I'm just going to hold back and just piss fart around on these light weights. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me, just on what you just said, let me just take it back to that point of where you specifically train 2 days a week. When you, and obviously you come around and listening to the Eugene Sandow and all the scientists going, you need to be training this and whatever. At what point did you realize this isn't working? I can make more progress training 2 days a week because how I'm lifting and the stimulus to push past my current threshold to actually make those adaptations. Like what was the determining factor for
there were 3 occasions. Okay,
yeah.
3 specific occasions. First occasion was I was training 6 days per week for 2 to 3 hours per day, and my bench press had been stuck at 80. It took me a year to bench 60 kilos for a single. Okay, that's how slow progress was coming. I then got a bit further and I got to 80 kilos for 5 reps, and I was stuck there for months. And I wanted more than anything for it to increase, so I did what everyone did and did more work, more going to the gym, more blah, blah, blah. And then my girlfriend's brother said, let's train together, my girlfriend at the time. And we went to the gym and we went on Dorian Yates's program. And the program that Dorian Yates used to win the English Nationals. 3 days per week, 2 days split, 1 to 2 exercises per body part, 2 to 3 sets each. And I went from 80 for 5 to 90 for 6 in the next 3 weeks. And wow, 6 months of nothing. And then we start pulling finger out and pushing really, really hard. And because I only had those 2 sets of bench and 2 sets of incline to do, I was obsessed with getting the best performance possible out of them because that's all I get to do and I don't get to come back for 5 days. So that was the first time I really made and that then carried me through for a while. The next time I got a book called Power Factor Training, and Power Factor Training was all about these complicated algorithms to measure your power factor and your power index and that at the end of your workout. So you had to time every workout, count the weights, reps, blah 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 blah. And their thing was, if you maximize the weights and you maximize the intensity and you do the maximum number of reps possible and you don't go up in your power factor from one workout to the next, it means you're going too often. And I just, at that point I was like on 4 days per week because I loved my training, and even 4 days was, I had to be restrained to do that. And I went to 3 for the sake of this program because I liked the logic. And in the first week, at the end of it, the power factor hadn't gone up, and I'm like, I can't go to 2 days. But okay, for 1 week, I'll go to 2 days. I'll prove the power factor can't go up and you can't make progress on 2 days. Yeah. So I went 2 days and the power factor leapt. It was a huge increase. And I'm like, shit, I did not want this. I want to go to the gym more. I wanted that to fail. And so I went again, and the next week, and for 4 weeks straight, it just went absolutely epic. Made best progress I'd ever made. And at the end of the 4 weeks, I went, that's very interesting. I like going to the gym more than that. And I went back to 4 days per week and promptly stopped making all progress whatsoever for at least the next 12 months. Because I like going to the gym and training unproductively. Yeah. And then the quick third story of when I found this out has been since I opened Biologic Labs and started, running my own studio and all the rest of it. And literally, I didn't have time. It was a case of I'm stressed out. I'm also training people for 12 hours per day. At the end of the day, the last damn thing in the world I want to do is tell one more person, one more rep. I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah. And so I would write myself programs, and then I'd do a day, and then I'd take 3 days off before I'm like, shit, I feel guilty. I better train again. And whenever I did this, oh my God, the progress. My strength would start leaping up, and people are like, what are you doing? You're growing again. It's like, I'm training twice a week and I'm doing like 6 work sets a workout, if that. And they're like, how's that possible? Don't know. Yeah. And every time it happens, it keeps happening. And every time it happens, I make this progress. I get excited. I go, this program's working, finally. And so I start going to the gym 3-4 days a week like I'd originally planned to, and I promptly stop making all progress that I had been making. Yeah. It just, over and over, it measurably and consistently has proven itself that 2 to 3 days make good progress. Any more than that, feel great about all my exercise, but I ain't going anywhere. And then my joints fall to pieces, and it's just garbage. So,
See, and a lot of people would look at it, and again, they just go, well, that flies in the face, because all you're looking at is pure intensity every time. Because there's so many studies that have come out now. They're like, volume is the determining factor. Volume. You must do more volume. And it's just like, but no one actually knows what that actual magical volume number is. They just go, well, you need to do as much volume as what you can recover from.
But this again, it's predicated on these studies are looking either at untrained people, or when they look at trained people, they're looking at people who have trained to train with a certain amount of frequency, which by its very nature requires not training to a level of intensity. So when you yourself exactly what we're talking about, that when we get a person into the gym and we put them through their first proper work set of reps, squats, deadlifts, or leg presses, at the end of the set, they're looking like you violated them, because it's just, what the hell was that? I've never ever done anything like that ever before in my life. And you're like, well, why the hell not? It was obviously in you. You know, we yelled at you and we shouted and, we told you what to do, but you ultimately had this performance in you that was an order of magnitude better than you've ever done before. But because it was an order of magnitude better than you've ever done before, you need to reduce your volume and frequency by an order of magnitude. But these are guys in white lab coats doing these studies. They've got no idea what a set of deadlifts to proper, genuine, maxed out effort looks like. They seriously think that you can measure strength by putting a person on a one-legged extension and asking them with a clipboard, was that the hardest that you could do? They seriously, that's how they measure maximum strength. Most of the people that I speak to, experienced trainers, they've never read the studies that they quote. And when you actually explain to them what was done in the study, they're just looking at you confused going, that's really dumb. And most of these studies are really, really dumb. Yeah. And there's actually, I could go into the reason why these studies are dumb and why they will never, ever actually be better quality studies to be done. But that's another topic. Yeah.
We can talk a lot, but I think, talking about weight on the bar, because, again, there's that element, and I heard someone talking about this recently, that when they were doing the bodybuilding specific stuff, they were working around, 70 to 75%, and they were just doing lots and lots of reps all the time, had massive growth, and they're obviously measuring what they were doing, and they were shortening their rest periods, so their workouts were going from 1 hour and a half, it was going down to an hour and then 45 minutes, but they were actually, getting more sets in and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's progression. I guess you could see that. I'm like, but at what point do you go, you need to put some more weight on the bar, because that's going to be the determining factor, right?
But this has always been, with Recomposer and everything else like that, where it goes, this is the strength increase you can expect for an amount of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Is it's just this, everybody's overcomplicated the crap out of something ridiculously simple, and they're looking at the problem in reverse. They're going, how does the muscle grow? To which I'd go, I don't know. How does your skin grow? I mean, that's more important, that your skin continues to grow and the blood doesn't just ooze out of your opening wounds, isn't it? No one gives a shit. No one assumes that tomorrow their skin might not be present on their body anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how it happens. Yeah. You can just presume that it will happen if you get everything else right. You don't need to understand how. It just will. The thing that you should focus yourself on is, well, what would the difference be if it did happen? By which I mean, if I put 20 kilos of muscle on me right now, what do I know would be different about myself? I'd be stronger.
Marginally stronger. Absolutely.
That's the only thing. I don't know how pretty my form would be, because what relevance does the prettiness of my form have to do with the quantity of muscle that I have? None whatsoever. All I know is that if I have more muscle if I grow more muscle than I have right now, I must be stronger. So when I go to the gym, if I'm not getting stronger, that's fairly irrefutable evidence that I cannot be changing very substantially. I can't possibly have any more muscle. So you go, there are only two possible outcomes when you go to the gym. You do get stronger or you don't get stronger. If you don't get stronger, you don't have any more muscle than you had before. That's a bit of a fail in my estimation if your goal was to grow more muscle. If you do get stronger, you achieved the only outcome relevant to having more muscle. So I don't know why anyone would argue, God, don't ever train to get stronger, which is what they're doing. The only outcome that measures success with weight training is that you can lift more weight. I mean, it's so simple. How did it get complicated? And that's it. You train to lift more weight because that's the object of what you are doing. If you grow more muscle, you must be stronger than you were. You look up in the dictionary the definition of the word hypertrophy, which bodybuilders love to use. This is again where language winds up screwing everything over. Hypertrophy is defined as an increase in the size of the cell. And that sounds like muscle growth. But as we know, if I went from a ketogenic diet to a high-carb diet, I could increase the size of all of my muscle cells substantially in the space of 7 days. And that is technically hypertrophy. Does that mean that if I put 5 kilos on, which is a standard carb up from a ketogenic diet state, does that mean that if I put 5 kilos on in 7 days, that I'm going to then gain 260 kilos of muscle that year?
Yeah.
No. It means I swelled up 5 kilos. It's utterly meaningless temporary water. If I go back to the keto diet, it falls back off again.
Yeah.
If you did actually grow muscle, as in real, not just putting water into the muscle, if you grow muscle, contractile tissue, you must be stronger than before. If you aren't stronger than before, you can't have grown muscle. And I'm not talking about dicking around with little 2 kilo, 3 kilo increases here. I'm talking about 50, 100 kilos on your bench, squat, and dead. I'm talking real strength gains that actually amount to something. If you aren't putting those sorts of strength gains on, you aren't changing much. And everyone should realize it. And any argument to the contrary is just idiotic. No, I'm going to train to be no stronger than I was, and I'm going to look unbelievably completely different to what I do right now with massive, great big muscles that don't contract.
Yeah.
It's an idiotic argument.
Yeah.
But no one puts it that way.
Yeah. So I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they were talking about how they'd been on quite low calorie diets for quite a long time, on a few photo shoots, all that sort of stuff. And, started to have a few health complications because of that, right? So, metabolic issues, menstrual cycle issues, all that sort of stuff.
Malnourishment issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And, got to that fact where they believe that, trying to improve that situation was becoming more important. So increase their calories. Started to feel really, really good. Like went from, say like 1,100 up to 2,000 or something like that. It was quite a big jump over about a 3-month period.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, like sleeping heaps better, menstrual cycles return, all these things, tick, 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 from a health point of going, yes, I am generally a healthier person in all respect. But went and did a scan and sort of got to that point where it was like, oh, no, I've put on, the weight that I've put on, 6 kilos, is predominantly all fat. And this is a really common one that, like, Kitty and I have spoken to, especially females, but a lot of guys as well, about the fact that, well, if you were only like, did you actually look at anything from a training point of view? Did anything actually increase? Because if you've just gone from here and you're maintaining your body weight at a set amount of calories and you go poof, but nothing happens with your strength, you keep going in and keep squatting or whatever you're doing is the same, then you can only expect that the weight that goes on is going to be fat because you haven't actually gotten any stronger. So,
well, this is exactly,
and it's coming back to that point where it's just like none of this is actually explained because, I feel, especially in the fitness industry, it's so much is put on the emphasis of diet. And that diet is the thing. It's like 80% diet and 20% training. And I'm like, no, it's 100% of both. Like they both have a completely different effect. You have to think of it that way.
They're two pieces of the puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no emphasis on, as you were saying before, about trying to actually increase your strength.
But again, this is this problem with health and fitness. Health and fitness. I mean, we're talking about a girl who was in a disease state. If you talk about it's funny when whenever I draw analogies to other athletes, you can really see the stupidity of what people do when it comes to their weight training for a more muscular physique. The thing is, if you were a 100-meter sprinter and you went to would you go to the track every day and run 100 meters in 18 seconds? And just keep doing that over and over and think that you're going to beat Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
No. You're just not. No one would be so ridiculous. And any other sport, you go, the lengths that strength coaches go to in every other sport to measure every element of performance and every single activity that they do as a strength coach, they need to get a measurable outcome. They need to justify measurably, we did this training action and this was the improvement in specific performance that we measured in the athletes that relates to their sport. In every other sport, this is where it is, except weight training. It's the only place where people go to the gym and lift weights and don't care or know what they lift and don't measure whether or not it improves. Could you imagine swimmers going to the pool and just kind of swimming through the pool for a lot and never measuring whether they got faster? No athlete would do this.
Yeah.
The reason that it's done in bodybuilding and fitness is specifically because fitness objectives are about treating the disease of being sedentary. That is it. It doesn't matter how crap you are at the activity. The fact that you are active means that you meet the clinical requirement of activity. That's why all of these activities you see in the fitness industry emphasize so heavily the variation and the motivation and the getting involved and the amount of time that you spend on it, and never ever once on any of these activities is performance ever measured. Where in every single activity, in every other sport on the planet, everything is measured. It's all about the performance.
Yes.
And the thing with this girl is that she took a methodology of diet and exercise that was designed to return a diseased person back to mediocrity. Except she hoped to look like an athlete as a result of abusing it. And you go, to draw an analogy of how this doesn't work is if you go to the doctor with a bacterial infection, you've got no energy, you feel absolutely dreadful, you can't get out of bed, you're just an absolute shambles. He gives you 500 milligrams of antibiotics a day, and a week later you're feeling absolutely fantastic compared to before, meaning you're coming back to normalcy. You are returning to health from a state of disease. That doesn't mean that taking 50,000 milligrams of antibiotics per day will feel like doing cocaine and you'll be running around like you're absolutely on top of the world all of the time. In fact, doing 50,000 milligrams of antibiotics per day will put you in bed sick as a dog and absolutely mess you up. You don't abuse medical interventions and achieve something in excess of the return to health. Abusing pointless exercise and abusing a drop of food in the hope of becoming an athlete is the most moronic, ignorant, thing you could possibly engage in. Why would it work? And it doesn't. So the problem is that's where they're coming from, this health mentality. What this girl wanted to do in building her calories back up, from an athlete perspective, she trained her body to run on 1,000 calories.
Yes.
That's what she did. If she was doing 4 hours of exercise per day, she trained her body to withstand 4 hours of pointless crap per day on 1,000 calories. The body will not die. It will just figure out how to function with whatever you train it to do.
Yes.
To build her calories back up, she needed to train her calories back up. It would be exactly like a bodybuilder who wants to put the muscle size on and grow larger. We need to see that the strength is going up in proportion to the weight gain.
Yeah.
So if she put 6 kilos of muscle on, predictably she would probably be about 30 kilos stronger on a deadlift and about the same on a squat and about 20 on a bench press. It's really easy. It's really predictable. You can put, best guess number to it and still be pretty damn close to the reality and just go, let's make sure that we're hitting those performance increases as we're putting the weight back on, and then we can be pretty damn sure that everything is going to be muscle.
Yes.
And it works. But when you approach your training with the wrong philosophy from the outset, when you believe that all activity is equal in validity and performance has absolutely no relevance, you're screwed from the outset.
Yes. Yeah.
You're literally undertaking a medical intervention that is designed to achieve mediocrity. So when you achieve mediocrity, don't be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of these things, like I've sort of said, like me at 90 kilos, it would be very easy for me to sit on the couch for the next month, eat a shit ton more food than what I am now and become 100 kilos.
Yeah.
All through diet. that 100 kilos isn't going to look very flattering at all.
Probably not.
So the difference, if I want to be 100 kilos and still look good, is 100% about the training and what you're doing. So, as you've mentioned before,
this again, this is where the data can become bastardized because people ask the wrong people. If you go and you look at medical records and research, they'll take a person who's been, I don't know, in a coma or had some kind of severe trauma and they've lost 30 kilos of weight in a short space of time through disease. Yeah. They take those people, they don't need to be particularly active, they feed them food and they put the weight back on to go back to normalcy, and they go, and 75% of the weight gain was lean tissue, therefore all that matters is diet and 75% of your gain will be muscle. Yeah. Which means that if I ate myself up to 200 kilos, well, 75 kilos of it would be muscle, and then I just diet the 25 kilos off.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
It's moronic. It's an entirely different focus.
So obviously a lot of what you're doing with your Recomp and everything that you're trying to do from a certification point of view with PTs is trying to put this education around that, giving this understanding of
it's
without
a different vocation.
It's like a lot of the RTOs, they just get it horribly wrong, and it's like I don't even know if people.
That's not true. And this is why it's so vitally important for people to understand the gravity of the difference between health and fitness versus athlete development. They are diametrically opposed things. So personal trainers are qualified in fitness. Their job is to get sedentary, overweight people off of the couch and engaged in exercise. This is what is published. The hopeful outcome of that is not ripped abs. Nowhere in the documentation of the health and fitness industry is this ever mentioned as an objective or an outcome. In fact, what is mentioned is an atrocious body composition that no person looking at muscular physiques and fitness magazines would ever desire. It's a skinny, fat, mediocre body. But that mediocre body is the definition of health and fitness. That's all that it is. And so if you want to achieve mediocrity, then by all means, you need to be exercising for health and fitness. That's what it's for. If I'm 90 kilos at 7% body fat, which I am, then if I start exercising for fitness, if I start doing my cardio, if I start eating my, healthy eating guidelines, all the rest of it, I will become healthier. My muscle will fall off and my fat will go up. That is what it's designed to do. If you want to build a lean muscular physique, you're talking athlete development, whether you want to compete or not. And the focus and the concern of athlete development coaches is not an extension of health and fitness. It's in direct conflict. Yes. So you come to me and you go, Damon, I want to be a bodybuilder. And you've done that many years ago. And it's a case of, okay, Craig, I'm going to tell you what to eat to increase your BMI way beyond 25. And at the same time, I'm going to drop your body fat way down below 14. And in order to do that, I'm going to risk tremendous injury by telling you to train to the limit of your physical ability like you would for any other sport.
Yeah.
And people have this thing about weight training being dangerous, and you go, compared to other sports? What, you think that if you went to a doctor who says to you you shouldn't squat 200 kilos, that he would be any kinder about standing in the ring with another man punching each other in the head until one of you fell unconscious?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's not good for your health or fitness. But if you go to a boxing coach, that's exactly what they'll make you do.
Yeah.
And if you go to a rugby coach, if you ask a doctor, hey, what do you think about me running as fast as I possibly can, throwing myself through the air to knock another person over as hard as I possibly could? And he'd go, that's a dumb idea. You could get injured. But if you go to a rugby coach, that's what he'll teach you to do. And it's like every sport, there's a risk of injury. And of all the sports in the world, lifting weights has got to be one of the safest sports with the least injuries you've ever seen.
Yeah.
The bar doesn't try to tackle you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just sitting there on the ground minding its own business, and you walk up to it, calm, collected, controlled environment, and you try to lift a balanced load fairly slowly because it's heavy to a standing position or pushing it off of you. This is not dangerous, not relative to hurling your body at another person at great speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, look, it wouldn't be right finishing this interview without asking you know what I'm talking about, the cardio question.
Oh, the cardio question.
Your favorite topic of all time. So, again, let's talk about it from a point of, does cardio work for fat loss?
Wait, wrong question. Wrong question.
Right, okay.
Because the thing is you've got to go, first of all, what is the definition of the word cardio? Okay? Everyone wants to talk about their opinion about whether cardio works or not. What is the word cardio? It's short for cardiovascular. What does cardiovascular mean in the dictionary of the heart and circulatory system? Does that sound like ripped abdominals on a bodybuilder?
No.
No.
The complete opposite.
It's got absolutely no relevance whatsoever. It's like a grease and oil change in your car.
Yeah.
Absolutely no relevance to standing on stage looking like a bodybuilder. It's utterly, completely, totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
Why is it of importance? It's of importance because the biggest killer in Western society is heart disease. There's massive cardiovascular disease all through society. Is that because all of society is trying to stand on stage at 3% body fat with ripped abs?
Yeah, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
It's got nothing to do with it. What is cardiovascular? What is the problem cardiovascular exercise is trying to answer? It's trying to answer the fact that half of our society is going to die because they are completely inactive. They sit on their bottoms and don't do a damn thing. From a sitting on your bottom position is the next logical position standing to the top of a squat with 200 kilos on your back. No, it's not. It's probably going for a walk out the front door because that's actually more activity than most people are doing. That's cardio. How do you measure the success of cardio? Easy. Is your BMI decreasing towards 25? Is your cholesterol decreasing towards below 5.5 total and with a LDL under 2.5 and an HDL above 1? Is your systolic blood pressure reducing under 120? These are the variables that need to be measured if what you are doing is actually cardio. So when you have a bodybuilder with a BMI of 30 to 35 going, I do cardio, I don't measure my cholesterol, I take steroids, I eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day to increase my BMI while then training with back-breaking poundages which sends my blood pressure through the roof, you go, dickhead, you ain't doing fucking cardio. You are a moron. Jesus, look it up in the dictionary. It's so the insanity and abuse of the English language calling an athlete doing walking cardio is utterly retarded. It's not my opinion. This is a fact. It's not cardio unless you're dying of cardiovascular disease. So then if you want to call it something else, you call it aerobics. Now, if it's aerobics, okay, then it's a oxygen utilizing activity that apparently burns fatty acids. Cool. Show me your measurement of your burned fatty acids. Oh, you can't. So you're completely ignorant. This is the alternative. How is being good at aerobics relevant to being muscular and looking like a strength athlete? It's not. It's in direct conflict. What is the training and adaptive response to doing aerobics? You increase your aerobic capacity. How is that relevant to having bigger muscles? It absolutely isn't. In fact, it runs in direct contradiction to the strength training that you're doing.
Yeah.
If you do lots of aerobics, then yes, you should probably increase your aerobic capacity. which means that you're going to need to do more aerobics to get more of an effect. Meaning that you're going to need to start turning into a complete endurance athlete if you want to see some kind of positive adaptive response. And everyone knows becoming which means these bodybuilders doing aerobics without wanting to get better at aerobics, because then they'd become an endurance athlete. They then say my aerobics was successful because I'm not. It's just a bunch of illogical, irrational nonsense. And all of it, when they go, but it burns fat, they can't show you that. Show me the measured fat being burnt during that walk. The only way I could imagine doing it is sticking a caliper on you or doing a DEXA scan before the walk and doing another one after the walk. And how much leaner would you be after your walk? Not at all.
Yeah.
So what did you achieve? 0. Except you trained to be the opposite kind of athlete to the kind of athlete that you want to be. So it's certifiably insane to do it because you don't want to achieve the outcome that it's supposed to achieve. And it throws another variable into the equation that acts in direct contradiction to the training that you are doing. It's just, and there's people going, oh, you've got your opinion. No, I've got the dictionary. It's not an opinion. I've got mathematics. You look at the body composition equation, you go, if I'm 90% lean mass and I want to go up to 95% lean mass, which means going from 10% fat down to 5% fat, why is walking on a treadmill going to help?
Yeah.
And I get so frustrated with it because this is dumber than the flat earth argument. It is so unbelievably stupid. And you go, well, where did it come from? It comes from treating sick people with heart disease. And then it also comes from the fact that 200 years ago, before there was any such activity as weight training, people used to go for a run to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. They've gone to lose weight.
Indiscriminate weight. Yeah, not fat.
When you ask someone, it's just like, what do you actually want? And they go, well, I want to lose fat. And I'm like, you just said you've gone to lose weight.
Yes.
What makes up your weight? Muscle and fat. So which one do you want to lose off? Fat. Okay, right. Well, do something that's in direct conflict with that by actually getting stronger and building muscle. That should be your goal. They go, no, but I want to lose fat. I'm like, yes.
And
build the muscle.
And this again, people will just go, but the studies have shown and the scientists say, and you go, and who did they study? Cardio is for people with cardiovascular disease. When you take a 400-pound morbidly obese person and you get them up off of the sofa, they've got virtually no muscle and nothing but fat. When you want to measure the metabolic processes taking place in that person, of course they're freaking burning fat from doing exercise. There's nothing else to burn. And they've got to walk they've got to walk their 400-pound fat ass around. It's like doing 200-kilo walking lunges with your own gut. Like they're doing weight training by virtue of being ridiculously big. But again, you look at all of these people doing it and you go to your average park any day of the week. You see fat people walking around the park. You don't see people looking like bodybuilders walking around the park. You see all of the fat people in their Lycra. It's designed to achieve mediocrity. Mediocrity is a massive step forward from dying of cardiovascular disease. But that doesn't mean you use a medical intervention to create an athlete. It keeps on coming back to that. Just this presumption that you can. And like I say, it's difficult for me because people think it's semantics. They think that it's just, whatever. And you're like, no, you don't understand. Athlete development and health and fitness are complete opposites. They run in direct conflict with one another. Health and fitness is about avoiding injury. Athlete development is about achieving massive performance and hoping that you don't get injured in the process because you stayed focused on the performance. The solution of the health and fitness industry is don't try to achieve any level of performance, and that way you can avoid all chance of injury.
Yes.
So that's why they literally train people, don't do effective athlete development practices because you could get hurt.
Yeah. I think where a lot of people go wrong, they look at it and they go, well, if I'm training and I'm doing weights, I'm not getting that cardiovascular benefit from lifting weights. And I'm like, man, you've never done a 50 rep leg press. You need to do that, sit and watch your heart jump out of your chest. But I sort of say to them, I'm like, well, if we can determine that the weights is ultimately what's changing your body favorably, right? And yes, right, okay. I'm like, okay, so let's use the example. Say you go for a 10K run. You go for the 10K run, then you turn up to training the next day and you're fatigued, or your legs are fatigued from doing that run, and the one thing that we've established is your training in the gym is actually what's going to make you progress, but you can't actually make progress because you're fatigued from an activity that didn't actually serve you in any way. That's the point you need to look at, where it's completely irrelevant because it's completely ruined your ability to progress on the thing that's actually going to get you to where you want to be.
That's absolutely true, and I 100% agree, but from my point of view, I like to I think it's vitally important for people to stop looking at the body like a machine, because that's the biggest mistake they make. The job of health professionals is to fix disease, okay? Disease is where something in the body is metabolically broken. Some biochemical process isn't functioning as it should for whatever reason. So the job of health professionals is to understand the biochemistry of the body, understand what's broken, so then they can launch an intervention to fix that broken element of the body. Athlete development is not about that. Athlete development doesn't give a damn how the body works. It presumes that it is. Athlete development's not something that you give to people who are riddled with disease and whose bodies don't function properly. Athlete development's done in people whose bodies do work properly. And in those people, to become a specific kind of athlete, you simply train to be that kind of athlete. You don't need to tell, a golf player that spending all their time practicing tennis won't do anything for their golf. If you want to hit a golf ball, you don't need to go and study muscular biology and neurodegenerative diseases and then figure out how to activate each of the muscles involved in a golf swing. All you need to do is look at the ball and swing the club and hit it. You just practice it and it happens. You don't care. The mechanisms by which the body does it don't matter a damn. Who gives a shit? I swing the stick, I hit the little white thing. And if I swing it lots and try lots and lots, I get better at doing it if I practice swinging it properly. That's athlete development. Scientists care about neuromuscular degeneration. They care about the fact that somewhere between the brain and the muscle is a disconnect, and how do we treat that, and how do we rehabilitate that, and all of these fascinating, interesting things, absolutely, amazing, wonderful things, totally irrelevant to swinging a golf club, totally irrelevant to picking up a barbell. Athlete development's about training to become the athlete that you want to become. Do you want to become a 10K runner? Do you want to look like a reanimated cadaver? Because that's what runners look like. They look like Night of the Living Dead extras. They just look absolutely freaking revolting. Or they're bad runners and they look like a regular person. Because if you go to like a fun run, you'll see that most of the people there are still fat and out of shape. And you go, you don't need to look like a bodybuilder to go running. In fact, no one who looks like a bodybuilder can go running. So the point I'm getting at is just this. The processes and what happens when you run are completely and utterly irrelevant. And the energy and the calories and all of this bullshit don't matter to athlete development. What matters is that you're training to be a runner and then you're training to be a strength athlete. They're two completely diametrically opposed activities, and you wonder why you achieve neither very well. Because you haven't made up your mind what kind of athlete you want to be. Do you want to be a runner or do you want to be a strength athlete? A strength athlete is lean and muscular. You look at rock climbers and sprinters, they're more lean and muscular than others. Why? Higher power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
How did sprinters and rock climbers and everybody else become, and gymnasts, again, ridiculous power to weight ratio. They can do handstand push-ups and all the rest of it. How do all of these athletes become more muscular in the last 20 years than they were for the 50 years before that? They added weights. They didn't add running. They added weights. How are the boxers standing in the ring now looking like bodybuilders? They do weights. Not more running. They do weights. When you speak to Dan Baker, who's head of the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association and coaches the rugby league teams, and he goes, what was the biggest move they made that completely transformed the game? They stopped them going for long distance runs and made them get in the weights room. And as soon as they stopped being long distance runners and they turned into strength athletes, all of a sudden they started looking like strength athletes, lean and muscular, and playing like strength athletes, hard, fast, powerful. And you go, just look around at the athlete you want to be. You want to look like a gymnast, but you don't want to do the work of a gymnast. Gymnasts get injured all the time. What's the thing that makes a gymnast look like a gymnast, like ridiculously lean and muscular? They're strong as hell for their weight. Weight training lets you do that without the injury risk, with far more efficiency to whatever ridiculous extreme that you want to, in far less time, with less wasted time on skill development to do gymnastic stuff. Don't do running if you don't want to look like a runner. It's as simple as that. Hope that answers.
Man. No, that's awesome. Like I said, I knew I only have to ask you 3 questions or so today.
And I just take it from there.
Just like wind it up. Mate, thanks so much.
The misconceptions,
I really appreciate that.
The misconceptions in the industry are just so. And if I could touch on this just at the end, the reason that I get passionate about this, people just go, God, he's very opinionated about this. What's the big deal? I'll tell you the big deal. The big deal is that people are getting horribly injured by this misdirection. And by that I mean, we just see as a constant thing the number of young girls now taking potent drugs, anabolic steroids, smoking the meth pipe, doing thyroid medications, growth hormone, proper full-on androgens, growing beards, deep voices, and the whole lot, all while training with no focus on performance, while eating 1,000-calorie diets, while then doing 4 hours of exercise per day, and then being absolutely ruined for the rest of their lives by this abuse. And it's all the fault of the fitness industry misrepresenting itself as being athlete development. If they knew that what they were training for was mediocrity, they wouldn't be so stupid as to do all of these activities. But you've got all of these fitness professionals going, it's really good for your fitness. Let's do hours of cardio. You don't have cardiovascular disease. Don't worry about lifting weights. You need to focus on activating the muscles. You don't have neuromuscular degeneration. Your muscles activate fine. These are problems you don't have, and you're now taking drugs and doing absolute horrible starvation and abusive quantities of exercise, and you're permanently injured for the rest of your life. And we're seeing, this, we see people hospitalized regularly. There's people before every bodybuilding competition, and they're not even bodybuilders anymore, going to hospital. There's people dying on bodybuilding stages or backstage. The drug abuse and the physical abuse and nutrition, the malnutrition that's going into these people, all because it's not designed to achieve the outcome they hope for. It's terrifying. It's not a small problem. It's actually turned into a massive health crisis, ironically. And it would all be solved if people just realized none of this stuff is supposed to do what you're hoping it to do. Get your head straight. If you want to look lean and muscular, lift your weights. Lift hard and heavy. Don't lift all the time because it's not physically possible. Watch the weights go up. If they're not going up, do less work with higher quality. Eat your food to become an athlete, and you won't have any problems with your fat or your muscularity. Simple as that.
the other things like sleep and just doing things that are conducive to a lifestyle, all that sort of stuff.
But again, and that's all part of things that you go, any athlete in any other sport already knows this.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just what they do.
It's just what they do.
It's just like,
don't go out and get hammered from Friday through to Sunday and not sleep all Friday and Saturday night and expect to actually increase your performance next week. It won't. And that matters, you know. Anyway, I hope.
Yeah. No, that was good. Great way to finish it off. You know, it's again, like I tell people, I'm like, we really want to try and remove as much grey area as possible and just keep this black and white. Like it really is that simple. It's like measure your food, measure your training. You know, if those things aren't improving, which one is the one that's failing you, and change that. Like it really is that simple.
It really is. Yeah, exactly. No, and keep spreading the gospel, mate, because there's not enough of us doing it, but hopefully there will be soon. And if we can get people understanding that health and fitness is the opposite of body recomposition, that body recomposition is just a different activity. It's simple. It can be done fast, way faster, with way less work, with way more food, if you just do the right things. And that's the thing. It's just because you and I have both done it, where we take these people who have been doing 6 days a week, 3 hours per day on starvation diets. You give them 2 days per week and twice the food. The fat falls off, the muscle comes on, and everything just works.
Yeah.
But they go,
how is this
possible?
And I'm like,
it's probably got something to do with the several hundred kilos that you've got on the barbell now.
Yeah.
It's all about that weight on the bar. So
Yeah. Mate, look, thank you so much for your time. Just quickly, where can people find you and listen to more of your rants? Where do we put them?
Yeah, well, search on Damon Hayhow on Google. Damon Hayhow, that's HAYHOW.com, or go to recomp.com.au and learn about the recomp industry and exactly what you are certified to do that fitness trainers aren't. Very cool, mate.
Beautiful, mate. Thanks so much, eh?
It's always a pleasure. We'll speak to you soon, eh?
Cheers. Bye.
Gotcha.